Round 17 of the Rejectcar Elite Series heads to Rockingham, North Carolina for a 79-lap race at the Rockingham Motor Speedway, also known as North Carolina Speedway, or just simply known as The Rock. Bryce Fencing was on pole for the race with Jackson Malin, who starts to his outside. However, Fencing and Joey Davidson get out to a big jump, and there's already a spin in the back already. Well, that was pretty quick. Actually, I'm not too surprised by that. The first caution would come out on the first lap. Donglin Who's Your Daddy, who qualified in the top 10, just gets hooked and turned by the 95 of Valor Christensen. And thankfully, no one else hits him. But a promising start to the 38 car is now kind of just been ruined because of that. Bryce Fencing would lead the field down to the restart on lap 6. Joey Davidson in second and Jacob Lauren in third. Fencing has been slowly kind of just trying to stay in the title hunt going towards the end of the season. However, he's had some pretty mixed results, so he's looking for a really good one today to keep himself in championship contention. Jacob Lauren in the 80 car is also just trying to stay at least in the top 10 in points, but he's not really in title contention unless he starts winning more races. And this man is the reason why some of the other drivers have a hard time keeping up, is John Baldy Jr., who's had really good runs and was one of, I think 2 or 3 drivers who made the race at Indianapolis. And so he got, a lot of points for that race, and he has a pretty decent gap coming into this race, and he's already showing that it's going to be hard for everybody else because he's running in third in the early stages of the race. So everybody's going to be gunning for the 48 car. Axe Vocal is in the race today. This is the second entry for the El Segundo Racing Team. Ruben Burns has quit the El Segundo Racing Team because it was found out that Axe Vocal probably sabotaged Ruben Burns' car for qualifying for the Indianapolis race. And those two got into a heated altercation after qualifying. And Ruben Burns just said, "I'm done," packed up his stuff, and left the team. So with Burns leaving the team, there's basically an extra entry spot for the entry list. And so Axe Vocal stepped in. He's going to drive his 58 car for the rest of the season. Not in every race. There's a couple races he won't enter, but he'll fill in his number 58. The 47 that the El Segundo Racing Team did run for most of the season will not run the rest of the season. And really, the rest of the garage is not too thrilled with how Axe Vocal and the El Segundo team handled the Burns situation. Dustin Harris in the 06 is trying to make a run at Bryce Fencing as he's going to take the lead from him on lap 11. Fencing had led every lap so far, but now Dustin Harris is now trying to score a win. He's been winless this season. He hasn't won a race since his upset at Las Vegas last season. It's his only career win in the series. And here comes John Baldy Jr. to the inside of Bryce Fencing in the 57 as Dustin Harris continues to lead. As Jacob Lauren has also made a pass underneath Bryce Fencing in the 57. Here's Derek Lewis in the 05, who's had let's just say, a really rough season so far. He's had a couple good finishes and a couple bad things happen to him. However, his car's going to break down. This is lap 19, and unfortunately, he will not make it back to the pits, and he's just going to come to a stop on the racetrack. The officials spotted him pretty quickly and threw the caution anyway, because they were prepared for him to do this, which was just park the car because he couldn't make it back to the pit lane. So that was the second caution of the race. The field came down for their pit stops. John Baldy Jr. won the race off pit road, and he would lead on the restart on lap 25. Jacob Lauren in second, Dustin Harris in third, and Clay Marcellus has now moved into the top 5 for the first time today, as Jacob Lauren is getting really racy. He's trying to hound the 48. Lauren is trying to, like I mentioned earlier, is trying to stay in the title chase. However, the 48 is making it difficult for basically anyone that's not Russ Palmer, who's second in points, but he's nowhere near the top 10 right now. You see Clay Marcellus drive underneath the 06 of Dustin Harris for third, as John Baldy Jr. is trying to get away from the 80 car, but it looks like it's not doing anything. Until around lap 40, Jacob Lauren finally gets to the back end of the 48 of John Baldy Jr. He drives up really high on the racetrack coming off turn 2, and there goes Jacob Lauren in the 80 to take the lead. And here comes the 73 of Zeke Miller, who's just come out of nowhere, and now he's taking the second place away from the 48. Clay Marcellus looking to get third, but looks like the 48 is going to hold him off for the time being. But a great run for the 01 of Clay Marcellus, who's still looking for a win. He hasn't won in quite a while. Jacob Lauren continues to lead, but here comes Zeke Miller. He's going to take the lead away on lap 44, so only let Lauren lead for about 4 laps. Here comes John Baldy Jr., who's now charged back up to second place. Joey Davis has now made his way back to the top 5 after he kind of fell off. Clay Marcells and Bryce Fencing round out the top 6s. The top 6 have gotten away from most of the rest of the field here. Garrett Banks is leading the rest of the field. There's a big gap between him and his teammate, which is the 57. As Jacob Lauren goes high into turn 3. As here's the Valentino family cars of Francesco and Matteo running towards the back end of the field. Matteo hooks the 4 of his own brother and takes them both into the wall along with the 30 of Daisuke Hiroshimi, and that would bring up the 3rd caution to race on lap 68, which was 11 laps to go. So this would definitely set up for a late race sprint. Zeke Miller would lead the field down on lap 73. This would be 7 laps to go, and he gets a great jump off the line. Joey Davidson is sleeping on the restart, and that's something Zeke Miller definitely wanted to see in his rearview mirror, is to have at least a gap between 1st and 2nd place. He's got about a car and a half on the 44, as they come down the back straightaway here. Joey Davidson is trying to catch up to him and get his first win of the season. And John Baldy Jr. is going to make that a little harder because he just got up to the back bumper of the 44 and is going to try to get by him, as he will. However, Zeke Miller will be unopposed as he comes across the line to take his first win of the season for WHN Incorporated. And here are the results. Zeke Miller gets his first win of the season, and this win in particular will tie him for the most win in the Rejectcar Elite Series. He has 10 wins in his career, which is, what I just said, is tied for the most in the series. John Baldy Jr. comes home in 2nd place after he had a top 10 in Indianapolis, so it just adds more to his points lead. Garrett Banks comes home in a quiet 3rd. Joey Davidson fell down to 4th on the last stretch of the race. Jacob Lauren still gets a top 5. Keon Parker comes home in a quiet 6th place. Valor Christensen, who spun out the 38 on the first lap, gets a top 10. Jay Baldy comes home in 8th, so that's both Baldy family racing cars in the top 10. Jebediah Butterturner, the highest independent, comes home in 9th. And Tavion Cobb comes home in 10th and puts both of the Jorkanik racing cars inside the top 10. The next stop for the Rejectcar Elite Series would be the Clawhammer Motorsports Park, held in Connecticut. Zaylen Foster is on pole for the race, alongside Zeke Miller, the winner at Rockingham last week. The field's going to be racing for 25 laps around this very uniquely shaped racetrack, which is in the shape of a hammer, hence the name Clawhammer. As the field is dive bombing down the straightaway here, you'll see some of the cars run off the track on the front straightaway just because of how the racing line is. As Foster and Miller are drag racing down into turn 1, Jay Baldy, Dream Abdul Cigar starting in the top 5, along with John Baldy Jr. Joe Vivick in the 37, you can barely see him. He started in 6th with a great qualifying run for the El Segundo team. As Zeke Miller gets around the 83 of Zaylen Foster and is going to start pulling away from him down this long back straightaway here. One of the fastest but also very technical road courses, even though despite it's only about under 2.5 miles long. As Foster is trying to get behind the 73 and get a drive off of him and try to get by him. Here's John Baldy Jr. makes contact with the 86 of Dream Abdul Cigar and takes out his own brother. Well, after the Baldy family racing cars got a double top 10 at Rockingham, they're going to start the day by both being in the gravel trap. And as there's more trouble behind them, and Taro Cake on the 41 for the Finnish engineering team just gets run into by the 54 Jackson Maitland. And here comes Axe Vogel just sliding backwards, as causes a big stack up right there in the exit of turn 6. And here's a better look at Axe Vogel. Makes contact with Muhammad Ali in the 59 and goes backwards down the racetrack. And surprisingly, that wasn't a much bigger wreck than it could have been. Asher Russell and Dustin Harris make contact, so that's going to hamper their days already, as Axe Vogel's going to continue on here. However, it seems like Axe Vogel is angry with the 23 of Dale Tager. He's going to hook both of them and go into the outside wall. That's going to take Dale Tager out of the race. Axe Vogel would continue on. However, he would be called to the hauler after the race for that little maneuver. Here's Tavion Cobb on the 40. Towards the back end of the field here. This is the end of the first lap. Muhammad Ali gets into the 44 Joey Davidson. Knocks Cobb into the grass wall, and then he runs into the guardrail coming up to the final corner. Tavion Cobb would continue on, however, that damage would put him off pace for the rest of the day. Here's Jackson Maitland just a little bit further up. He's got front end damage, trying to come into the pits, but he gets turned around by the 18 of Eric Hawkinson, who after he just cut him off. And he gets stuck at the end of the guardrail and stalls the car somehow. He did get a push back to his pit stall. Zeke Miller has finally gotten clear of the 83 of Zalen Foster. This is lap 2, so it didn't take him very long to get to the front. And is now looking for 2 in a row, because if Zeke Miller wins this race today, he will have the all-time series wins record by himself. He's currently in a tie with longtime veteran Earl Dermott. They both have 10 wins. And Miller would love to knock him off that pedestal and get it for himself. Also on lap 2, this is Krelter's Vidic, the second Finnish engineering car. Jay Baldy goes jumping over the hump going into turn 5 and goes into the outside wall and drags the 51 with him. Not a good start for the Finnish engineering cars. They kind of needed to do well to make up some ground in the independent standings, but looks like today's just not going to be that day. Here's John Baldy Jr., who's kind of fell down the order a little bit, and he gets turned around by the 50 of Ashton Russell. Baldy Jr. will not hit the guardrail. He's going to continue on. However, he wouldn't be too happy with the 50 car, and I'd understand why. Here's Clay Marcells in the 01, as there's a stack up into turn 6. He's going to make contact with the 41 of Ventero Keiko and the 63 of Kelvin Stevenson and sends the 63 into a slide. Looks like no harm, no foul there, as you can see the remnants of the smoke there. However, we weren't quite done with the 63 of Kelvin Stevenson. As coming up into turn 8 here, he's going to make contact with the 56 of Sadi Shaboing Boing, and the 56 is going to dump him around. But he doesn't hit the guardrail. He's going to continue on. The officials gave Sadi a warning for that. Could have gave him a little bit more room there. Here's Doran Kosovo. Watch what he does here. He's going to hop the curbs just like the 45 J Baldy did. However, he's going to use it to his advantage and get a great run into turn 6. I don't know how that's good for your suspension, but he made it work. Jose Rodriguez in the 22 here. This is lap 5 of the races. He's racing Donghui Who's Your Daddy. As they come up into turn 8 here, they're going to make contact, and there goes the 22, spun out in the middle of the racetrack. The 38 hits the inside guardrail. It looks like both cars will continue on. Jose Rodriguez a little slow to get back going. And there's more contact. The 61 of Cooper Key and the 14 of Keon Parker. Let's see what happened here. Parker ran the 61 off-road. Looks like he kind of brake-checked him a little bit. I don't know what that was about. They kind of slow up for the 22 and the 56 spin. And then Cooper Key just dumps the 14 of Keon Parker and puts him in the guardrail. The officials call Cooper Key to the hauler for that move. I expect the hauler to be pretty busy today. Back up front with Zeke Miller, who still leads the race here. Well, we're on lap 11 now. As here comes Zeke Miller rounds the final corner, and he's going to come into the pits to make his first pit stop of the race. And Valor Christensen's going to follow him in the 95. However, Zalen Foster and Kareem Abdul-Najjar will stay out an extra lap to possibly gain ground on the 73. Foster is still looking for his first career win in the series. Kareem already has a win this season. He won at Bristol earlier in the year. And this is the most competitive the 82 has been in quite a while. He's had some misfortune ever since he got his win. And the next lap, on lap 12, both Zalen Foster and Kareem Abdul-Najjar would come into pit road to make their first pit stops of the day. Kareem's cousin Jareem Abdul-Sagar comes in along with Garrett Banks and the rest of the leaders. This is the race off of pit road here. Zalen Foster had the first pit stall, but here comes the 82 who gets a better run out of the pits than the 83, and now they're side by side coming down the front straightaway here. There's going to be a drag race down into turn, technically should be turn 1, but it's actually turn 3. Kareem goes off track a little bit. Here comes the 83, Zalen Foster. As you can see, just behind him, there's the 38 of Dongwei Who's Your Daddy. I think he's a lap down, so actually don't pay any attention to him. But there's the 73 of Zeke Miller, who's caught up to the 82 and 83 already. And he's just going to use the 38 as a little bit of drafting help down this long back straightaway here to get past the 83. Yep, Miller would finally dispatch the 38 just a little bit up the racetrack. And now he's going to hunt down the 82 of Kareem Abdul-Najjar. Zeke Miller's having a great day today and is looking to get 2 wins in a row after he had a little bit of a winless streak before he won at Rockingham. As he's just hounding the 82. And just after the hill right there, he's going to drive to the inside of the 82. And he's going to dive bomb him coming down into the final final 2 corners here. Especially this very, very narrow hairpin. Miller sends it in and is going to get the lead away from the 82 of Kareem Abdul-Najjar. It is going to resume the race as the leader. If I stumble over my words one more time, I'm just going to end it all. Here's Saudi Shaboing again, who's already been warned by the officials for aggressive driving. And there's his buddy, the 63 Calvin Stevenson. Looks like these two ain't done yet. The 63 and 56 make contact, and they're both into the guardrail. And there goes Saudi Shaboing flipping and barrel rolling down the racetrack. Calvin Stevenson would continue on, and Saudi's day would be done. The officials called Calvin Stevenson to the hauler for that because that was technically retaliation. Zeke Miller would come back into the pits on lap 18. This would be his final pit stop of the day. Kareem Abdul-Najjar would stay out an extra lap with Valor Christensen, who actually came in on the first go-around on the first cycle, is now staying out an extra lap to run with the 82. If they got lap cars, that would be the 54 Jackson Malin and the 2 of Matteo Valentino in front of both of them. As Christensen is hounding the 82 of Kareem Abdul-Najjar, he's trying to set him up, but it looks like Christensen's being a little bit more patient today. Normally, he's not like that. If you remember Boulder City, he was flack for being really aggressive. Lap 19, here comes the 82 and 95, along with the 86 and the rest of the leaders down pit road for their final pit stops of the day. However, one car stays out, the 59 of Muhammad Ghali. They're going to take a risk here and see how far they can go. I don't think he's going to make it to the end of the race, but if he did, it would be a hell of an accomplishment, because technically you can only run about 13 laps on fuel here. And he has, I think he pitted on lap 12 or lap 11. Either he's pushing it. However, the gamble would not work. On lap 21, he would have to come into the pits for his final pit stop of the day. A valiant effort to try to get that alternate fuel strategy just didn't work. However, Jordan Kosovo, who pitted a lot later than everybody else, is going to roll the dice. He takes the lead away on lap 21. He's going to try to push it to the very end. From what I heard, they're pushing it very close. It could be, he could run out in the last lap. As here comes Jordan Kosovo to take the white flag this time by. However, he's got to come into pits. He's running out of fuel. He will not make it to the end. Unfortunate for Jordan Kosovo, who's looking for his first win in a number of years. But at least they went for it. It just didn't work out in their favor. As Kareem Abdul-Najjar would take the lead back and take the white flag. As he's got a pretty big gap over the 73 of Zeke Miller, who is still running him down. Miller has been held up by lap traffic, and that's why he's so far back. As Kareem is holding a steady wheel, he has no pressure behind him, and rounding off the final corner here, despite Miller getting a little bit closer in his mirror, it would not matter. Here comes Kareem Abdul-Najjar to take his second win of the season, and the second career win for him in the Rejectcar Elite Series. And here are the results from Clawhammer. Kareem Abdul-Najjar with his second career win. Zeke Miller comes home in second, so that's 2 races and an average finish of 1.5 because he won at Rockingham and he finished second here. Garrett Banks, 2 straight races, 2 straight third place finishes, so good job for the longtime veteran. Valor Christensen comes home on the top 5. Pretty sure he would have loved to stay with the 82, but he kind of fell backward just a little bit. Dream Abdul-Sagar gets both Cigars in Paris teammates in the top 5. Jordan Kosovo, despite running out of fuel on the last lap, comes home in 6th still, so still a great run for him. Daisuke Hiroshimi, the Big Bang racing car that didn't get spun around, came home in 7th. Alex Constantine ran a very quiet race, came home in 8th. Ashton Russell, despite being involved in a few incidents and have his hood buckled in, came home in 9th. And Jacob Lauren rounds out the top 10 for the Constantine Motorsport team and gets both of their cars in the top 10. Round 19 of the Rejectcar Elite Series heads to the Concord World Speedway for the first time in over 10 years for a 42-lap race. Russ Palmer is on pole with Valor Christensen to his outside. Zebediah Wheat Farmer restarted in 3rd with John Baldy Jr., who's qualified in the top 6 for the last 3 races. As the field charges down the long front straightaway into the massively banked turn 1. This is a giant super speedway and expected to see 3 and 4 wide racing here, and it's pretty much a constant here as Russ Palmer leads the field down the back straightaway. This black 80 car is not Jacob Lauren. This is Jackson Williams making his series debut in the Meyer Racing 80 Chevrolet. Jackson Williams is the younger brother of 2013 series champion Jeffrey Williams, who was unfortunately killed at this racetrack during the 2014 running of the race, and we got a crash in the back. But Jackson Williams is making his series debut. And here's the reason why for the first caution. Clay Marcells make contact with Jay Baldy, and all hell breaks loose down the front straightaway as a number of cars are involved. I see Joe Vivick, Eric Hawkinson, Alex Constantine, Jose Rodriguez, Derek Lewis, Jake Blondie. Ronnie Hawkins just tagged the 15. Surprisingly, no one really went out of the race after that wreck. It was just a lot of fender benders. Russ Palmer would lead the field down on the restart on lap 6, with Zalon Foster in second, Valor Christensen, who jumps out of line immediately, along with the 04 of Zebediah Wheat Farmer. Barrett Cervantes is in the top 5 as well, as Palmer's trying to hold off. He's trying to catch the 48 of John Baldy Jr. in points. However, he's had 2 mediocre runs, and he really needs a really good points day, and he really needs the 48 to drop out of the race in order to have a chance. Here's Jacob Lauren in the car number 180 today. He's in this car because Constantine Motorsports sold the number 80 to the Meyer Racing Team so Jackson Williams could run this race. And so, with that happening, Jacob Lauren needed a new number, so they just slapped on a 1 in front of the 80. So he's driving car number 180. This is expected to be a one-time thing for Jacob Lauren. He was involved in the first incident, so he's a little bit off pace. But yeah, it's kind of weird seeing that car with a triple-digit number. Here's Barrett Cervantes in the number 11 for the High Seas Racing Team, and this is believed to be the final start for the High Seas Racing Team. With no sponsor on the hood and just been struggling for funding all season. The team is believed to be shutting down after this race, and so Cervantes is trying to give it one more final go and possibly steal away the independent points lead, because Wes Miller holds the lead in those standings, and Cervantes needs a really good run in order to take it away from him. Here's the Code of Valor Motorsports teammates, Max Trethrowen and Valor Christensen, running side by side for the lead until Trethrowen takes the lead away from him. Despite them racing cleanly there, they still don't like each other, and there's rumors that Max Trethrowen might leave the team at the end of the year. And here's Valor Christensen, who's going to take the lead away from the 94, bringing along the 44 Joey Davidson with him. As Davidson's going to make a 3-wide for the lead. He said, I want the lead now, so screw you, 95. That's probably what he said in his helmet. I don't know. I don't really talk to the drivers most of the time. As Davidson's going to drag race the 95 down the long back straightaway here. He's got his teammate Zalon Foster, so we got a teammate battle for her. We got Code of Valor Motorsports on the high side, and we got the Racing Therapy cars on the low side. And it looks like the 44 and 83 are going to win that battle. Then out of nowhere, Zebediah Wheat Farmer takes the lead on lap 12 of the race. He did qualify well, qualified in the top 5, but he just come out of nowhere to steal the lead away from the 44 Joey Davidson. And there's the 06 of Dustin Harris, who's a slow car, and he's going to hold up the whole chunk of the field. And there's the 2 of Matteo Valentino. Whoa, he went down really low to get out of the way. And now Zebediah Wheat Farmer has a very big lead over the 44. He's got at least like 8 car lengths on the rest of the field. Kevin Flagrant, who's had a horrendous season, takes the lead away on lap 13. He's bringing along the 86 of Dream Abdul Sagar and the 57 of Bryce Fencing with him. Kevin Flagrant has been outclassed by his teammate Russ Palmer the entire season, and if you remember my prediction video at the very beginning, before the season started, I said that Flagrant was going to blow Palmer out of the water. Clearly, I was wrong. But it's nice to see Kevin Flagrant back up front. He has been struggling ever since he had his 2 wins last season. Max Trethrowen would lead the leaders down pit road on lap 17 of the race. Jay Baldy in the 45 is a lap down, so don't worry about him. And on the next lap, the rest of the leaders would come in. Valor Christensen would lead the field down pit road here. He's got Zebediah Wheat Farmer following him. Oh, we got a spin in the back. Jordan Kosovo, and it's the 80 of Jackson Williams. And that's going to bring out the second caution of the day. Here's a better look at what happened here. And it looks like Jackson Williams just couldn't slow down quick enough and just hooked the back end of 71. That's a hard hit into the end of the pit wall. People were very worried for Jordan Kosovo because that was a scary hit. He hit it with the driver's side. As we're on board with Dream Abdul Sagar. Yeah, Jackson Williams just couldn't slow down and just put the 71 into the pit wall and took himself out in the process. Jackson Williams was called to the hauler for that, and Jordan Kosovo had to be taken to a local hospital for further evaluation. Now, this was under caution here. Downtaker and Zalon Foster just get run over by Garrett Banks and Kareem Abdul-Najjar as they were lined up behind the pace car. John Baldy Jr. is also involved as the 23 gets lifted off the ground. A pretty bizarre incident under caution here. Here's the chase camera from John Baldy Jr. here. Trying to get through the smoke and just doesn't go high enough to miss the 23. And that's going to take John Baldy Jr. out of the race after he's had 2 good top 10 finishes here. However, we weren't done wrecking. Here's Jake Blondie in the 15. As he's going to miss, he's going to run into his own teammate Dustin Harris and flips his own car over. Jackson Maitland's involved along with the 74 Jalapeno. Joe Vivek in the 37 is also smoking. A bizarre set of circumstances under caution here. Here's the helmet cam from Garrett Banks in the 46. He's trying to catch up to the pace car and pass it, but he just hits the apron and just runs into the back of the 23 and dominoes into the 83 for no reason at all. As Garrett Banks comes to rest on the inside line of the racetrack here. Now this is off the rear camera of Dale Tager. There goes the 94 and 45 to pass the pace car. Garrett Banks just panics and completely rear ends the 23 at about 190 miles an hour. As Tager slides down the racetrack, there's John Baldy Jr. who hits him at about 150. Very concerned for Dale Tager. He had to be cut out of his race car because of that. Dale Tager had to be helped from his car and was taken to a local hospital for a possible back injury. Garrett Banks, Kareem Abdul-Najjar, John Baldy Jr., along with Jake Blondie were all called to the hauler due to their involvement in whatever that was under caution. Valor Christensen would end up leading the field down to the lap 23 restart. However, he was already passed by the 44 and the 04. Is there contact between the 38 and the 50? I don't know what their deal is. But Christensen lost the lead to Davidson and Wheat Farmer right after the restart because there's so many cars a lap down and so many cars on the tail end of the lead lap. As the leaders are just trying to siphon through these guys, as Christensen is stuck in a hornet's nest. He's going to use the 86 of Jareem Abdul-Sagar as a little bit of a pick to try to get through these guys. You can see so many cars off the pace and just different speeds all over the place. And here are the top three leaders, Joey Davidson, Donghui Hujadedi, and Zebediah Wheat Farmer. As there's the main three fighting for the lead. The 180 of Jacob Lauren is a lap down, or he's on the tail end of the lead lap, so he's not in contention. The 63 and the 2, or no, that's the 4, Francesco Valentino. The two cars behind this group, they're not on the lead lap at all either. Joey Davidson would take a lead away from Zebediah Wheat Farmer a few laps later. The 38 of Donghui Hujadedi, despite having the underpowered Olympica, is still keeping up with the two leaders, which is a pretty nice sight to see. Donghui's has had some pretty good runs recently, so he might actually still win here. Could have a big upset here. Well, as Joey Davidson comes around on lap 36 here, and he's going to lead the leaders down pit road. Barrett Cervantes, Valor Christensen, and I believe that's Tavion Cobb in the back have now caught the top three, as Donghui actually got kicked down to 5th place because of the 11.95. Joey Davidson would lead the field off pit road here. That was their final pit stop of the day, as the leaders are pretty much good to go to the rest of the race, as we're on about 6 laps to go, as Davidson leads the field around to get back to merge back onto the racetrack. And here's how that ended on coming to lap 42 with 4 laps to go here, or 42, sorry, lap 39 with 4 laps to go. I can't count today. As Joey Davidson, Barrett Cervantes, and Donghui Hujadedi have caught a group of lap cars here. Stephen Bennett, Eric Hawkinson, and Ronnie Hawkins. As Davidson's going to go to the outside of the 42 to try to get by him. However, he's going to make contact with Ronnie Hawkins and causes a wreck on the back straightaway and takes out the rest of the leaders. Eric Hawkinson goes spinning. Joey Davidson's trying to get back going into full speed, but here comes the 94, Max Rothrowen, to take the lead away. What happened here? Joey Davidson was running on the high line trying to get past the 42, and Ronnie Hawkins chops him off and puts them both into the wall. Eric Hawkinson goes spinning. The 11 and 38 also get damaged. Davidson's trying to hustle back to the line to keep the lead, but there goes the 94. He had a huge burst of speed, and Davidson didn't have a chance to defend it. As here comes Max Rothrowen coming off turn 4 here. The 180 of Jacob Lauren is on the tail end of the lead laps, and Stephen Bennett's a lap down. And Max Rothrowen's going to come across the line to take the lead of the race. Max Rothrowen has the lead under caution now, and there was so few laps left in the race, so Max Rothrowen's going to take the win here at Concord for his first win of the season and his first win since Springfield last season. And here are the results from Concord. Max Rothrowen gets a surprise win, mainly due to the 44 wrecking the leaders. Donghui Hujadedi comes home in 3rd. I should also mention Joey Davidson came home in 2nd. So, but I'm pretty sure he would love to have won the race if not for the 42 of Ronnie Hawkins. Donghui Hujadedi comes home in 3rd, as already mentioned. Tavion Cobb comes home in 4th. He ran pretty quietly today and avoided all the major carnage, so good result for him. Barrett Cervantes, in what is presumed to be their final race, comes home in the top 5. So what a way to go out. And he was hoping he was going to win the race, but a top 5 is still a great result for them. I think that ties his best run of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Both of the Harvest Life racing cars, Zebediah Wheat Farmer and Jebediah Butter Churner, come home 6th and 7th. So a great run for them and much needed boost in the independent standings. Valor Christensen comes home in 8th. He kind of fell off after the last pit cycle. And rounding out the top 10, both of the Black Flag Motorsports cars of Kevin Flagrant and Russ Palmer. Flagrant basically avoided all the carnage and came home at 9th. Russ Palmer got collected in one of them and he kind of fell off, but he still got a top 10 out of it. So a great day for the Black Flag Motorsports team and a double top 10, which I believe is the first time that's happened all season. And here are the point standings after 19 to 25 races. John Baldy Jr. still holds the points lead. However, with his bad result at Concord and Russ Palmer's top 10, Palmer has shrunk the gap to only 26 points. Zeke Miller, after his win at Rockingham, has now vaulted his way into the top 3. He's only 29 points behind the 48. Valor Christensen is still in the top 5. Bryce Fencing has moved back up into the top 5. He's just ahead of his teammate Garrett Banks. Joey Davidson, after a multitude of good runs, is now 7th in points. Zaylen Foster comes home at 8th. He is 8th in points. I don't know why. That was a little screw up by me. Gustavo Silva Rodriguez, who was non-existent for the last 3 races, is still holding a spot in the top 10. And Jacob Lauren, despite having to run a different car number at Concord, is still 10th in points. But he's still 113 points behind the 48. And here's 11th through 20th. Kareem Abdul-Najjar is still 11th in points. He's been hanging around 11th pretty much the entire season after his win. Alex Constantine has fallen really far down. He's 12th in points. I believe that's the lowest he's been all season. Doran Kosovo is 13th in points after he's had a couple dismal runs. Outside of Clawhammer, where he got top 10. Keon Parker's fallen down the order. He's 14th. Dream Abdul Sagar has been hanging around between 13th and 15th all season, so at least outside after his win at Texas. Cooper Key is 16th. Clay Marcel is 17th. Tavion Cobb has both of the Jorkanet racing cars in the top 20. Max Rothrowen, after his win at Concord, moves up into the top 20 in points, I believe for the first time this season. So, hey, that's both Code of Valor cars in the top 20. And rounding out the top 20 is Donkoy Who's Your Daddy, who's been flirting with the top 20 most of the season, and he holds station there with 409 points. However, he's 174 points back. And if I do the math correctly, that's almost 3 full races behind. So, yeah, I'm not going to say anything else about that. And here are the independent point standings after 19 to 25 races. Wes Miller still holds the independent points lead. However, a couple drivers got really close to him. Jebediah Butter Churner, Barrett Cervantes, and Zebediah Wheat Farmer all ran their final races today, and they all came up short of passing the 220. So Wes Miller still holds the top spot for now. Tommy Salami is the next driver who still has a race left. Tommy Salami has 1 race left. I believe it's at Chicagoland. So he can still knock off the 220 because he's only 25 points back. So he can definitely do it. Jabroni Pepperoni, his run's over. Fat Cox and Big Toe, I believe, still has 1 more race to go. Jalapeno finished up his schedule. He finished with 93 points. I believe T Scorpio still has at least 1 more race. I could be... Yeah, he's got 1 more race left, so he technically has an outside chance to take the lead away, but he's going to need a really good run. I.e., he's going to need to win the race in his next start, wherever that is, in order to take the lead away. So, I mean, it's doable, but it's a really tall order. Muhammad Ali, I believe, has 1 more race left. So he technically could get the independent trophy, but he's going to need a lot of help. Rafael Smolzanovic can't win the championship. Same with Tony Baloney. Durkistan, I believe, has 2 races left, so technically he could, but he's going to need a really good finishes. I believe he's going to have to finish in the top 12 the next 2 starts. Zico Ronadima Samaina has starts left, but I don't think he can even touch the 220. Sadisha Boing Boing, he can't win the championship after he's had multiple dismal runs. Cecile Fox has a couple more runs left, but he's so far down, I don't even think he can win it. Karel Terzvinik, Nika Durkistan, and Tara Keiko, they're so far down, I don't even think they could win the Independence Trophy, even if they won 2 races. So, right now, it's between the 220, the 9, the 96, and possibly the 7. Those are the 4 that I expect to have the best odds to win the Independence Trophy. And there's only, let's see, 20, 21, 22, 23. There's 5 races left for them because they end at Talladega, which is race 24. Other than that, That's all I have to say for them. If you're tired of the multi-race highlights, too bad, we got at least one more left. Next time, the Rejectcar Elite Series on the Reject Sports Network will showcase races 20 through 23. Race 20 will take place at Estoril, Race 21 will take place at Chicagoland, Race 22 will take place at 12 Vivier in Canada, and Race 23 will take place at Mosport Raceway, also in Canada. This has been Jim Format for the Reject Sports Network. See you then! If you have enjoyed the Rejectcar Elite Series and want to watch more races, click here to watch the playlist of the season so far. If you want to keep up with the series and don't want to miss a race, please consider subscribing by clicking here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.